Hey everyone, KARAC Hendricks here with This Road Is Mine. This week we're going to be talking about Pain of Salvation, Remedy Lane with my boy Cohen Hendricks.
Hello.
What's up? How's it going there, buddy?
It's going pretty good. I mean, I've been with you all day, so.
Yeah, it's been a day.
It has been. Yeah.
But, we get to sit here and talk about our favorite albums by our favorite artists.
Yeah,
and,
can't complain, definitely.
yeah,
You're pretty much forced to listen to me, so.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah,
Not that you don't listen anyways, but.
Yeah, I like to listen. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice to see what's going on. And yeah, this band I know is definitely very important to you. And
Very.
I'm definitely a big fan of them for sure. I don't think it's weird for me because obviously I have my bands and my artists or whatever, and I can totally see how these guys would be your band, and they probably would be my band if I was your age too. But there's, so much of music enjoyment is that it's not only about how good the band is or their lyrics or the music, but it's also like how old you are and what kind of frame of mind you're in when you hear it and all that. And clearly this was a band that connected with you at a pivotal time in your life. So
certainly.
Yeah, why don't you take us through? So tell me a little bit about Pain of Salvation.
Well, they're from Sweden, so there's that. And they're like a progressive rock, progressive metal.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty progressive myself, so I don't really like to confine to genres.
Yeah.
But they're very all their concepts are concept albums. They have 11 albums out now. Their last album is Panther. It came out in August.
Yeah.
And that's a great album. Top 5 for them of their albums.
Nice. And they have 11 albums.
Yeah, 11. Yeah. So
this
one I have on vinyl. It's the remix one. Well, yeah, you would know because you got it for me for Christmas a couple of years ago. This is Passing Light of Day is my favorite album of all time. And so, I mean, I know that, your favorite song of all time is Walking in Memphis by Mark Cohen, but not necessarily your favorite Mark Cohen song.
Yeah.
Which is something like I totally, when I heard that, I'm like, wow, that's dumb, but I totally get it. Because
absolutely.
My favorite album is Passing Light of Day, but probably this is my favorite Pain of Salvation album, which is so weird because they're my favorite band too. But
that's right.
It just makes sense. So
yeah,
this is a great album. And I think their music always stays relevant too with current events and past events and future events and common crisis. Like in the playlist you have the song A Trace of Blood, which is about a miscarriage that he and his wife went through.
So when you say he, we're talking about
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yes. Yeah, I should mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Daniel Gildenlow is the singer. He plays guitar, and he writes all the music, all the lyrics. Yeah. So it's pretty much his band. He actually, his brother is, I believe it would just be pronounced Christopher. But it's spelt different because they're in Europe, so they're much better than us. But no, I'm kidding. But he's
they did
great.
It first usually. That's
yeah. Well, I mean, as my old friend from England used to say, whenever he'd say something different than us, he'd say, "My country spoke it first, so
that's right.
We're right and you're wrong," which is a good argument. But
I like it when people say, "Speak English," even though they're like from England.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
so it's basically his band, like it's his.
So
project,
and his brother was in the band for the first few albums, but I think he'd already left. This was their 4th album, because it's Daniel's band pretty much, and he kind of I think wanted. I mean, I don't really know much because I mean the thing is too is they're unfortunately not super popular, but in a way that makes them more special.
For sure,
because I definitely feel like they're my band. So there's always something about that when you can just not share anything with anyone.
Or with a select few people.
Because my friend showed me them, and I'm glad that we can talk about it. But if there was anyone else, then I mean, I know actually he showed his friends, a couple of his friends, this band, and they're amazing. The first album was Passing Light of Day.
That's the first one that you listened to.
Yeah, and then I just was like, I should just start from the beginning, and then I did, and then I never looked back.
Yeah, for sure.
So
they're very very amazing music from whatever you've played with us. There's been a whole bunch of artists that you've got into that definitely on my own volition I wouldn't necessarily have got into, but like when I hear them, I'm just blown away.
I know.
Polyphia is another band.
And we saw them in LA.
And then of course a connection into my world is that that amazing female mandolinist Sierra Hall ended up doing a cover of one of their songs.
Well, and Nick Johnston's on their song Champagne, I believe.
Right, yeah, and of course Nick is a good friend of a guy that I know, so it's not
crazy,
not too far away. It's a small world in many ways, and yet still just a big giant world too. Because if you think these guys are, they're in Sweden, and we can find out a lot about them, but they're still not quite as accessible as some other bands. Yeah, that we can.
So I mean, and then any information that I say is just, hopefully I'm correct.
Oh, who knows? Yeah, I make up a lot of things too. But
but there you go.
You read things, you hear things, and then
assume it's true because the internet's mostly right.
Especially Wikipedia. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a great website.
Yeah. So we do have the playlist. KARACHENDRIKS.com/show notes has the Pain of Salvation playlist created by Cohen and I there, and. We picked 5 tunes from this album, Remedy Lane, and then a couple other tunes from Passing Light of Day, and then select 3 other tunes. Try and keep it to almost like a top 10 kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, a top 10 would be. I think I tried once. Me and actually my friend and I were talking about top 10s and stuff. I actually found those lists the other day. We did like top 5 Tool songs, top 5 Haken. Which is another band lots of people probably haven't heard of, but great band
for sure.
That I don't have on vinyl, but I would like to. Pain of Salvation, top 5. I think we nailed it.
Well, and I find too, even with ours, like you mentioned Mark Cohen before, like for me, I can take an album and I can like remove a couple songs that I can either I usually skip or ones, but it's always like, well, am I listening for me or am I listening or trying to, let's say I want to get you into him.
Yeah, exactly.
Then what are the songs I'm going to give you? And should it be 5 tunes? Should it be 10?
Yeah.
And it's not always that simple. Like you said, I think Walking Memphis is one of the greatest songs ever written, recorded,
beautiful.
Performed. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. And he knows that. And but my favorite album is definitely The Rainy Season. Although the first album it's pretty hard.
I haven't listened to the first one in a long time.
Like it
Ghost
is.
Train, I remember.
Yeah,
that was after that, I think, on the album.
Yeah, it's the second
song. Yeah,
you bet. Yeah, but Rainy Season was the one where I had my face melted, like as an album. And there are like single songs in there that are just like every time they come on, I just crank them.
Yeah.
His third album was kind of a weird one. Like I still listen to it, but it doesn't grab me as much for sure. So I know the feeling of what you go through with.
Well, yeah, because their third album was the one that didn't grab me, and
interesting.
That's funny.
Okay.
But actually, they just did a re-release of it, and the single from it, Ashes, came on when I was listening to music on YouTube, and I probably started crying. I was, it's a great song still.
Stuff.
So even at their stuff that I'm not the biggest fan of. Compared to other stuff, it's still amazing. So I think that's how you found a good band.
For sure.
Is when the stuff you like the least of them you still love.
Yeah.
So
well, I have that with Springsteen is probably the biggest one for me. Like as far as because the catalog is so deep, and then you add on to the fact that his live situation is just
that's
off the charts. His shows were and are legendary, and now that he has developed the Springsteen archives live online, a lot of shows had been recorded and bootlegged because they would be aired on FM radio back in the day, and then so you could get some copies, and some of them were filmed, and so now we're slowly starting to get our hands on some of these, but his worst album is still better than most people's best albums. So for me anyway, so I could
see that,
and yet again, this Springsteen's another weird one too, because for me, definitely not my favorite vocalist, definitely not, but guitar player, like he's a really powerful fronting lead player.
Definitely.
Songwriter, he has written some of the best songs, but not necessarily my favorite songwriter. But as an artist, I mean, he's so far above anyone else that just collectively and add on top of that the ethos of like just how his charitable sense, and like his benevolency is so, it's not about him. Like there's been stories, like he'll just like donate money, doesn't tell anyone, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a Bruce Springsteen charitable foundation. He just keeps it.
That's
it's
cool.
just not
And he
about-
looks good.
Well,
like he's
yeah,
stayed very
yeah.
healthy.
And that's I think that's the overall thing for me with Springsteen is he is the example of how to age and how to be a rocker. Like,
Definitely.
and but not like, oh, I was on heroin for 20 years and like
Right.
he's just sustained this existence, and will probably live to 100 and something. He's just
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah,
and
he looks after himself. He's had a lot of mental health issues, which he wrote about in his book, which is obviously fed into a lot of his lyrics too. So
I'm gonna be reading that soon. Actually,
Yeah,
you got
go
it
to
for
the-
me quite a few.
well, I
years
bought you
ago,
the Bruce James Carlin book, the one
Right.
just called Bruce,
Yeah.
which is probably a good book to read instead of the autobiography. I think at least
Okay.
initially, because it's a subjective or objective take on it. Because Springsteen is his story from his own words is a very it's so powerful to hear it, but in a way for me, like to give you advice, it would make more sense for you to just to ease into it and to check it out, because
yeah. Well, which one had Tunnel of Love? Was it Tunnel of Love?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Tunnel of Love.
That has some cool songs.
Well, the songs are great. That's an album in particular that a lot of people don't. Because it came out in '87, so a lot of the mid '80s production elements are in there. So
I love that song though.
yeah, well, exactly. Some of
Great
my
song.
favorite songs are on the album, but as an album, especially to listen to, it's kind of garbage. Like the production is bad. At times there were a number of factors in that. But back to Pain of Salvation now for a sec, because they obviously Daniel Gildenlow, if I recall, he talks a lot about his own mental health situation.
Absolutely.
He really owns it.
Amazing.
And
yeah, well, because he does it, but what separates him from a lot of people, in my opinion, is he does it how I like it, at least.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he does it good and other people do it bad, but
Sure.
he does it how I like it, which is quite poetic. Whereas, some people release music that's similar lyrically, but they're more straightforward.
Yeah.
And I like having to think about it. There is a place for that too that I like,
Yeah.
But concept albums are amazing. They're so cool.
Yeah.
I don't have enough. I have more than enough good things to say about this.
Yeah, Remedy Lane.
So,
I mean,
beautiful.
Yeah, that's such a great way to convey thoughts, feelings. It's the epitome of what an album should be. An album isn't just a bunch of songs slapped together.
Especially, I mean, because if you read the inside of the record, it talks about the time of this record, which was 2001.
Right. Yeah.
Which, crazy times.
Yeah.
Seems to be always crazy times, though. So.
It is, but yeah, no, 2001 was
Exceptionally
definitely a turning point. The beginning of the 21st century was not only the advent of the internet really starting to come into play, but then of course, the 9/11.
Yeah, and they talk about that in the not in the songs, not at least that I could pick up, anyways, but in the, I guess, would that be the liner notes?
Yeah.
Yeah. The liner notes, it says they were recording the song "Waking Every God," which is on the playlist, track 11 on the album. And there was, in the recording sessions, because this is a remix version, the vinyl we have. And they did a remix version in 2014, 13 years later. And then there's a relived version, that's what it's called, but it's just a live album of it. And he said when he was listening to it, during Waking Every God, there was just like hours of silence recorded, because they were recording when the 9/11 attacks happened. So he said they were in the other room of their building, just glued to the television.
Yeah.
And then going back to that later, the silence at the time didn't mean much, but going back years later and hearing that silence, and you really start to think, like, what was happening when nothing was going on in this room. This is kind of how I see it, is like, in the world, the world changed during that period of silence, which is very powerful to think about.
It's interesting that I presume they would have been recording on digital tape, maybe, or did they
Could
talk
not
or
tell
maybe
you.
hard drives, but the fact that something was still recording and there was a bunch of silence, I mean, that just represents so much.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he notes in this, is that at the time it didn't mean anything, but listening to it later, the silence means everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. Great lyrics too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the cover says, we will always be so much more human than we wish to be,
Yeah.
which is very, that's what I said in the Loretta Lynn one too, is that I
Yeah.
think their lyrics are just relatable to everyone.
Yeah.
Whether they know it or not. Like,
Yeah.
if you really start to think about it, we're all humans and we all do shit.
Yeah.
And we'll always be more human than we wish we were.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's what makes it go around for sure. It's does he talk about specific books or movies influencing his work?
Actually, there's an interview I'm going to watch. I know I watched it before, but I have no memory of it, unfortunately. But I'm going to watch it again. It's his top 5 favorite albums, and I'm very interested to see that again. If I recall, I might be totally wrong in saying this, but I think the Beatles were on it.
Yeah, if I recall the Wiki Machine. Oh yeah, here I've got it.
Perfect.
Like you talk about the Beatles, Faith No More, Jeff Buckley, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Right. That's so funny too, because the Jesus Christ Superstar album's like one of my favorites.
Well, sure. Well, we've drilled it into you.
Yeah, not for religious purposes, but for musical purposes.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's marvelous. Jeff Buckley. Have you checked out Jeff Buckley?
No, but I have. Is it Grace?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember actually just one day randomly you'd sent that to me and you were like, hey, if you want to blow your mind, check this out. And
well, it's funny because that technically is his only album. I mean, stuff came out after he died, but he is the reason that we all are so sick of that Leonard Cohen song, Hallelujah. Yeah, but his version was just a masterpiece. His dad, Tim Buckley, was a folk artist.
Oh, yeah.
In the late 60s, early 70s. But Jeff is, just an operatic voice, like in that quality of... like a Freddie Mercury, like in that like,
surge.
Yeah, well, yeah, certainly, but and having that the range.
Yeah,
it was, and a great lyricist.
Yeah,
the production is fantastic. It was really stripped down. And it was an album that it took me a long time. Actually, my buddy Brad was the one that got me into it. I knew of it for years and years, but just it didn't come into my sphere for a long time. And then now that I've heard it, I totally get it.
Yeah,
but it's funny when I think of like Wiki's got Beatles, Faith No More, Jeff Buckley, Jesus Christ Superstar. I can definitely the Faith No More and Jeff Buckley thing. I can totally get. It's like a good combo. Faith No More is a band that a lot of people only know that one hit.
Yeah,
but there's so much more
Faith
than
No
that.
More. They're so good.
Yeah,
actually, around the time just after I was getting into Pain of Salvation, I was getting into Faith No More. Their album Angel Dust specifically is the song RV's track 4. It's such a weird, cool song. I love that. Yeah, that's a great album.
Definitely.
Jesus Christ. Kiss.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's funny, because that was my first favorite band.
Yeah, Moody Blues. I'm not sure if we talked about.
I haven't checked Moody Blues. I had their gold album saved years ago, and then I ended up. I think I just removed it.
Yeah.
That was when I needed to free up space, and I was like, oh, okay, just panicking because I need to add more music.
A good collection, would like just start with any collection. Their album Days of Future Past is considered one of the masterpieces of the late 60s, because it was one of the. It's funny when you ask people from the UK and you mention the Beatles, they kind of scoff because really other bands were doing what they did in some ways better. But for us, for some reason, the Beatles resonated in North America. But Moody Blues, in particular, the song Nights in White Satin, actually got re-released in the early 70s and became like a huge hit again for some reason. But their singles actually tell the tale pretty well. I have listened to a lot of their early albums, and I had my mind blown. But I don't know if I'd ever go back to them again. But that idea of a concept album and.
Were they into that?
Yeah, big time.
Cool.
Yeah, and orchestral, like a lot of heavy arrangements.
I think you and Grandma were watching a Moody Blues concert.
Probably,
or you were for sure.
Yeah, they come on PBS every now and then.
Yeah, I think you were just maybe it was just
yeah.
watching it.
Yeah, they're still out there doing it, as far as I know. Justin Hayward and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're a really good band, and so it is bands like that really started that whole concept of progressive rock or whatever. Of course, at the time, I don't think they referred to it as that, but most of these terms and titles come from people that aren't musicians trying to explain music.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's kind of I was been thinking about this recently. Is people's musical vocabularies, and you can definitely tell how someone describes music, how much they like really like music. Like if they're, you know, they like listening to it, or if they like love music.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, you could use a few terms to describe all music,
For sure.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the earliest progressive, I would say Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and
Mhm.
Yes, and Moody Blues, and then of
For some
course,
reason, I associate them with Head East.
um,
I don't know if they're
interesting.
connected, but
Head East is
maybe because
they're
maybe
progressive
they
too,
were
I
on
think.
deep
Yeah.
tracks or something, and I
Yeah,
just think
yeah.
of them. But
Interesting. Yeah,
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 Gentle Giant.
yeah, yeah, for
would
sure.
probably be next after that though.
Yeah, it starts to get into that second zone, but and then of course American bands like Kansas or
Mhm.
oh boy, yeah, there's
Rush
just so many.
was
but-
Canadian though.
Yeah, of course, Rush really took that sort of Zeppelin
Mhm.
musical approach and then applied the more lyrical aspects of
In the
you know,
book that we have, it said that Kiss, I believe, described them as the Canadian Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, and they were musically, especially
Like,
that first
yeah.
song with John
Fly by
Buckley.
Night, or yeah, well, the first
Yeah.
one, yeah, Rush.
Yeah, like Working Man, and yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty.
That was a cool album, honestly. I
it
haven't
was
listened
good.
to
Yeah,
it in a while.
It's fun to hear some of those early bands and then go back and
Yeah.
like, the term I always use is from Ben Folds. He
Mhm.
calls it naked baby photos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Like at a wedding.
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
know, here comes the slideshow with look at him in the tub.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of times those early albums are, you know, they're like the equivalent of a naked baby photo. They're
Yeah.
yeah. It's nice to see their
Yeah.
embryonic form. But Pain and Salvation. Were there any songs that they do that you don't like at all? Like, are they one of those bands? It's possible. Or?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's nothing in their catalog that I dislike, honestly. Some of it though, I think for me is just, if I don't dislike any of it, but some of it I could probably say I might just not listen to it.
Yeah,
You know, because
yeah.
they have so much stuff that I love that I would have no reason to go to something that doesn't necessarily connect with me at least as much as other things. So,
Sure.
yeah, there's, like I said though, their third album didn't grab me as much as it probably should have, because the concept is beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful concept, very sad, and
Yeah.
actually their sixth album, I'm blanking, so I'm gonna see. Yeah, Scarsick. Okay, I was just
Scarsick,
thinking. Yeah, Scarsick. Is actually, if you buy it, it says in it, it's actually the Perfect Element Part 2, but it's
Oh,
not
okay.
listed as it, but
Cool.
it's continuation.
That's so progressive.
I know, right? It totally is.
But it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I remember those Book of Cygnus, Book 2, the Rush one where Hemispheres goes
Oh.
into.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I think I think Hemispheres comes out of well, it was 2112, and then what was the next one?
One was 2112.
75.
So then Moving Pictures was 76, I believe.
No, that was 81.
That was 81?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
what was 76 then?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Because
did
they
the
had a
live
really
album.
good one in 76.
Well, yeah. If only there was a computer in front of me that
Yeah.
could tell me this, I could.
Let's see.
Not that we should be doing this. We should be talking about Pain of Salvation, but Rush discography. Yes, all right. Of course, there's people listening that are just yelling at their speaker, right
Yeah.
now, trying to tell us the answer. But yeah, Farewell to Kings. Yeah, goes into
right.
Hemispheres. Yeah,
Because
The-
the Farewell to Kings, didn't that have Closer to the Heart?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, is that the? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Xanadu.
Yeah.
Oh, Bastille Day.
But see, yeah.
Yeah.
Things, excellent
Bytor and
one,
the
book
Snow
one.
Dog. I forgot about
Yeah,
that one.
Bytor.
And the Snow Dog.
Oh no, but actually, you're looking down at the live show there.
Oh,
That's
okay.
On the fourth
Yeah.
anniversary. That Bytor was from
Fly by Night, I thought.
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but see how this last song on this album leads into the first track on Hemispheres. the
Oh,
next
yeah.
album.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
It's like a similar concept or whatever.
Very.
Book
progressive.
2, yeah. Which I
Side
think.
2 is. Oh, I love the trees.
Yeah, I love this album. Yeah, I love.
Passage to. Oh, but that was a 2112, I think.
Yeah,
Passage to
yeah. That
Bangkok,
was just more
yeah.
live stuff, but yeah, Permanent Waves, and then.
It's funny. I just see these songs and I get so excited.
Yeah, well, yeah. Rush is one of the best bands that they were able to kind of straddle that line between progressive.
Well, yeah, and it lists their genre as progressive rock,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you got to put a name on it, I guess it is because Time Signatures were a little bit challenging, but not so challenging that you couldn't wrap your head
Yeah,
around
I
it.
mean, Tom Sawyer has
Yeah.
that weird section.
Yeah,
I think it's just in 7, but
yeah.
just 7.
Yeah, sorry, no big deal.
Yeah. Speaking of 7/4, there's some rope ends. Oh wait, no, that's just track 7. But A Trace of Blood has 7/4.
Okay.
The main, like, it comes in 7, which is cool because it's a very epic piano driven, very beautiful, kind of arpeggiated melody. But the fact that it's in 7 is it cuts it short, so it kind of makes you kind of like same thing with 5/4, which the song Fandango is in 5/4.
Okay.
So I really like those time signatures. Waking Every God's in 3. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, really amazing band for
Yeah,
sure.
very cool rhythms.
Well,
And of course, I'm just thinking they probably change time signatures in those songs too. I'm just thinking mainly this. What I think of the song, I think of the section that's driving that's in those time signatures.
For sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, hopefully they come across the water and come to
I hope
North
so.
America and we can go see them live at some point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, and we haven't really talked about how the original album in 2001 of this was they were going to be on tour with Dream Theater,
Right. Yeah.
which is super cool.
for sure.
And really could have broken them out of their box.
Yeah, probably would have. That probably would have been a pivotal thing for them. I wonder. Yeah, like
And I don't know if that's the one that got canceled, but something happened. They were going to break into North America, is what I was reading, and then something happened, and their tour got canceled, I think. But so they needed material out at the time. So Daniel was, I guess he says he was going through a personal crisis, or still recovering from personal crisis, and really wanted to put something out, but all of their stuff has meaning. And so he said he just really dug deep and pulled it out. And, I think if he would have spent more time on it, it would have been different, but it might not have even been as good because, he really had to look deep into himself, I assume anyways.
Yeah.
Not here to tell his story, but very, very good stuff.
Well,
and actually Daniel features vocals on a Dream Theater song. That's something a lot of people probably don't know. Their song Repentance is on, I think it was their album Systematic Chaos.
Okay.
Very progressive name, Systematic Chaos.
For sure, yeah.
I love it. But and he's not even listed in the title, but apparently he's got some vocals. I haven't checked that out in a long time. But
awesome. I wonder if they worked ever with Steven Wilson at all? I wonder.
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe.
Do you remember that show?
I love Steven. Yeah. I remember because they dropped that cool curtain and they were playing behind the curtain.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Yeah, I love Steven.
I was such a noob when we saw Steven Wilson. I didn't know who Porcupine Tree was or him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to.
Well, I mean, I probably didn't either. I was like 10.
Yeah, we were just starting to explore a bit.
He's great. And the album, The Raven That Refused to Sing and Other Stories.
Yeah.
And the second song, Drive Home, is one of my favorite songs, actually. And I don't know if you know this, but Guthrie Govan did the guitar solo.
Right.
Well, because, he was playing guitar.
Yeah, we didn't see Guthrie live, though.
For that
it was
tour,
that other
no.
guy. But he was playing
He
all
was still
Guthrie's
good.
parts.
Yeah.
But,
amazing. And the story goes that Guthrie did that solo in one take.
Oh, I bet.
And that solo
He's a
makes me
freak.
cry every time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I would say of all the new guys, he's my favorite.
Him or Tosin. But the reason I usually say Guthrie is because Guthrie's so expansive that he could do a country album under a different name. Yeah. And you'd think it was like Danny Gatton or something. Like just, well, I mean, Danny's pretty identifiable, but on that level at least.
Oh, is that? Absolutely.
So.
Well, and Tosin I always associate more with the 8 string?
Innovating that area of 8 string.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not.
Well, and Animals as Leaders doesn't even have a bass player.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. So, they're 2 guitar players and a drummer, which is very weird. Yeah. But he's just, he has that one technique I'm working on called selective picking, where you hammer on and then up downstroke.
Okay.
So you play triplets, but then you can, very percussive. He does it with his thumb too. Yeah. So you can hit weird intervals and it makes very cool sounds, especially when you get going fast.
Amazing.
So nobody could see me gesticulate the picking motion, but I did.
Yeah. We don't have the video element going on the podcast quite yet. We're getting there though. We're actually looking at camera shots of ourselves right now.
Looking at myself right now.
Yeah, we're not going to be going on the video side for probably a couple more weeks. Still trying to get the bugs worked out on the show here and get the get the audio dialed in, and the content's certainly not a problem. I mean, just talking about music once a week is going to be
Could go for hours.
a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, I'm really a big fan of Pain of Salvation, of the stuff I've heard, and it's really nice to see that you've found a band that really connects with you, and
definitely.
musically and lyrically and all that. And
yeah,
they're very cool. Hopefully your paths cross with them one day, and maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I should mention that I would like to message them and see if they would listen to this.
Yeah. Well,
because I did message a few of them before, and they all answered me, and that was super cool. They all, and I'm pretty sure they all called me buddy.
Yeah.
Which is like a subtle flex on my friends, but
pal.
And Ragnar, who was on The Passing Light of Day and Falling Home, the album. He was like, well, look forward to seeing you down the road. And I was like, oh, that's fucking sweet. Me too.
Well, bands like this, I mean, it's usually a sausage fest at the crowds, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But although when we saw Polyphia in L.A. last year, there was a few girls. But
to be fair, Tim's kind of my man crush Monday.
He's a beautiful man. Yeah,
he is. Yeah. Same with Daniel.
Well,
and
Daniel's
kind of
also there. Yeah.
Yeah. He's very, very good looking man.
Yeah, we can admire.
Yep.
You know, it's 21st century now.
It is.
2021. We're very woke. Yeah. So be open to that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So everyone check out KARACHENDRIKS.com/show notes, and you can hit the playlist on Spotify for Pain of Salvation, and also any other episodes, and Spotify playlists for past and future episodes, depending on what order you're listening to these in. And
it's kind of weird to think that somebody in 2024 could be hearing this for the first time.
Yeah. Well,
imagine if they just heard me say that.
Yeah. Hey, we should say hello to them right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you think about how many, I know at least when I first started getting into podcasts, I went through definitely the Mark Maron one.
Oh, yeah.
I went right to episode 1. I didn't listen to everyone, but when there was an episode that I wanted to listen to, so it was already 5 years old by the time I got to it.
Is he the music history guy?
No. Mark Maron is a stand-up comedian. He ended up in radio in the mid 2000s.
Okay, I'm thinking of someone else then. I'm thinking of the guy that interviewed Ian Thornley. It was 3 parts.
Oh,
Billy Talent.
That's Alan Cross. Yeah,
right.
He's Canadian guy. Yeah, Alan's awesome. Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, he actually had, and I think that show is also part. It started actually in radio, and then I think now he's spun some of the episodes off into podcast land. But there's just no shortage of content, and I'm sure that there's probably other podcast episodes where people talk about Pain of Salvation too. But,
I'd imagine.
I would like to think that I'm going to be the first one in the pop country realm to be discussing.
That I could probably say you would probably be. Yeah. Definitely. At least, yeah.
Yeah, and the nice thing, when you're searching on Spotify and probably Apple now too, when you search for a band name, podcast episodes will come up too. With so then you never know when somebody's going to check it out, and maybe they'll dig in a little bit more. So.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. So you got anything to promote this week? Any? No new albums. No, you got a Netflix special like a lot of people. You got.
Maybe one day. Well, when I want to sell out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I like Netflix specials. I don't know. I would like to point out that I wrote a PAT on the concepts of Pain of Salvation albums.
That's true. Yeah, you did.
I think that was really fun. In my grade 9 in Canada, we have to do provincial achievement tests, and I had to write a story. And very riveting for a 14-year-old male, 15 years old. So. I combined the concepts of their first 2 albums. The first one's called Entropia, which is a portmanteau of the words entropy and dystopia. So just ultra negative, emo, but actually not really emo though at all. But the title would suggest that. And then 1 Hour by the Concrete Lake, which is, we can both agree that album is. That is really.
It's so cool. The premise is really cool.
It's so cool. And. Great. And I had to add a song from that album onto the playlist. Handful of Nothing is the 5th song on the album. And it's very applicable. And I think it will always be applicable, like 1984.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I chalk it.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny, too, when you've been talking about Pain of Salvation, it made me think, too, about, oh, crap. What's the name of that book? Oh, man.
Hints?
Brand new... Is it Brand New Day? No. Oh man, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank here. But there was a recent television adaptation of it, and I think there may have been movies from it as well. But yeah, you know, like some of these concepts, some of these iconic books that, you know, and then they become adapted into movies or TV shows. You know, they can become part of the pop culture thing. But you know, for acts like this to actually come up with their own concepts too, you know, they're part novelists, they're part obviously
definitely.
clearly musicians, and
yeah.
you said too that Daniel's an artist as well.
Yes. Oh, yes. His visual art, his drawings are incredible. He's very healthy. I mean, if you look at a picture of him, he's got huge muscles.
Yeah, I don't want to look at him yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't. For your sake. No, well, for everyone's sake. I mean, that's what I meant by that. But and the musicianship's incredible. I mean, and if you listen to the song "Handful of Nothing" and you think he wrote all the music, be it drums, bass, guitar, he wrote the lyrics, the concepts. He wrote, and he performs it like live. He's playing the guitar and singing. When you listen to that track, you'll realize how insane that is. And I read that there's an interview where he explains that he feels like he kind of has two brains, that one controls vocals and one controls guitar. So he doesn't really think about it, but he's doing two completely different tasks.
Right.
So it's just amazing.
Yeah. I found it out. Yeah, Brave New World. Yeah, the Aldous Huxley book.
1931.
Yeah,
Jesus.
And I mean, still relevant today. It's sad but true. And there's a recent TV adaptation of it available in Canada, at least on Showcase. I'm not sure who made it in the U.S., but yeah. So stories like that, you know, tend to have every generation rediscovers these stories, and you know, an artist like Pain and Salvation too. I mean, they will, you know, clearly they have an audience, and that's a wonderful thing about the internet nowadays too, is that you can find your audience.
Definitely.
You can be yourself, and you may not have the largest audience, but you don't need to have the largest audience. You can have, you know,
sounds like a pretty cliche quote, but it's true.
It is. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, but okay. Well, thanks for the chat. Thanks for filling us in on Pain and Salvation. These guys are really cool, and
anytime I can talk about something like this, I will take the opportunity.
Yeah.
So
right on. Okay, right on. Well, for that, we will be talking about Donny Hathaway. Everything is Everything in the next episode. That was his first album, and really kind of his only album of note. I mean, he had more albums, and he had duet albums with Roberta Flack, but like even his second album, I think it was self-titled or whatever, but it was like mostly a covers album. Like it was just interesting. But yeah, the first album was definitely it blew my mind. It's, you know, a lot of people talk about Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, and clearly that is an amazing album too. But this one came out around the same time, and in its own way, kind of speaks to that whole inner city thing. And
you'll have to fill me in on that, because I have no idea.
we will do that next week. All right. Okay. Well, everyone take care, and peace. Here we go. Where's the stop button? There it is.